For anybody upcoming, that would be my one suggestion. How do you walk through the door that nobody else is walking through in a disarming way and prove value and gain trust?
What was your best experience doing that?
Oh man, so many. I could tell you the story of how 7-Eleven came about, which is the Beyonce record we did. And
Yeah.
that was like a good example of just walking through the other door. Basically, like, the way it came about is everybody was pitching Beyonce at these camps and doing like the traditional way of selling records. Me and a writer that I was working with at the time, we came up with this idea of renting out a house on the hills and setting up a studio and then inviting everybody to the house and throwing a party. And while everybody was partying at the house, mix in the records that we had for sale. So everybody was at the house. We were playing like Young Thug. I'm a stoner at the time. I was like the hot record. And I remember like seeing everybody kind of dancing and spilling their drinks or whatever. And so I ran into the studio room and created a quick beat around that tempo and then had everybody come into the room and basically had the writer that I was working with just jump on the mic and start like explaining what he saw in the room. So there was like a bunch of girls dancing and one was waving her hand. So the lyric was like, hands up in the air, blah, blah, blah. Or like somebody dropped their alcohol literally. And so he was like, don't drop the alcohol. And so it was literally like a line by lines visual, see what I'm seeing, and I'm going to put it in the lyric. And then later that night, Beyonce came over. We played it for her as if it was like a party anthem, and everybody was like doing the hand wave, and the record kind of sold itself. But it was just the idea of like, how do we create the most authentic version of this song as opposed to pitching it through an A&R and then trying to get it up the food chain and a bunch of gatekeepers, and things like that always worked for me.